So let's know more about the age of Chaucer. Welcome to yet another episode of the world of English language and literature, and we'll be dealing with the age of Chaucer. And to know more about the same, we have to know about the historical background, cultural background, intellectual background, and literary background. We have certain key terms to be discussed. For example, feudalism. What is feudalism? Okay. So, to know more about it, we have to know the feudal system, which was a social, economic, and political structure that dominated medieval Europe. There was this king at the top, and then we had nobles and lords who controlled the land, whereas we have serfs or peasants who worked as the lower class in the land for the lords in exchange for protection and a place to live. Serfs were bound to the land and could not leave without permission. This was the feudal system. Next, let us know about what is serfdom. We heard that the peasants were called as serfs, but they had very limited freedom, like they could not leave the land without the lord's permission, had to work on their lord's fields and pay rent, usually in the form of crops or labor. They needed permission to marry or change jobs and were protected by the lords but had no real rights. Serfdom was a key part of the feudal system. Let us have an overview of how this age was. We can see that there was a high increment in trade and commerce. There was a declining in feudalism, and there was emerging money economy. And we can see a lot of people who shifted from agriculture to wool cultivation because that was of major key reason for trade and commerce. So to earn more money, people shifted their jobs from agriculture to wool cultivation. So as we see this, we can understand that this was the age of transition. To know more about the historical background, we have to know more about the 100 Years' War, which was from 1337 to 1453. So what happened? It was a war between England and France. The feudal ties and dynastic claims became the major cause for this war. Okay, so let us know more about what are the key causes for it. So there were this English land in France, French kingdom. For example, we have Gascony, which were acting vassals to the French throne. Even though the land was owned by English, they had to pay taxes to the French throne. And there was Edward III's claim over the French kingdom. Why? Because he was the son of the French king's sister, Isabella. And he wanted the French throne, but it was rejected in the name of Salic law. What is Salic law? It states that no throne of French kingdom was to be given in the feminine line of heirdom. Because it is of the sister side, this has to be denied in accordance to the Salic law, which was in the French kingdom. And also the England's wool traded to the Flanders, who collectively combated against France. Now let us know about the course of war. The major victories to England was happening. For example, we can see that in 1346 there was this Battle of Crecy, where English and Welsh unitedly fought against France and they won it. Battle of Poitiers, which happened in 1356, where the son of Edward III, who was also called the Black Prince, captured the King of France, John II, and which led to the weakening of France. There was this Treaty of Bretigny, where 1/3 of the French kingdom was given to England. After this, even though we can see a hike in the economy of England, whereas it also went to its decline thereafter. Why? Because Black Prince supported the Spanish king in a battle which drained England's finance. So this intervention in Spain led to a decline in England's finance. There were a lot of French counterattacks. See, if their kingdom, 1/3 of the kingdom was given to England, there will be this uprising to have their kingdom back, right? Have their territories back. So the French didn't stand in silence. They were also attacking England all the time. So under the leadership of Charles V, they regained the lost territories from England. Okay, so in the final phase, we can see Joan of Arc, who led the French army, and except Calais, all the French territories were captured by France. Okay, so they won back their territories. Now, another major reason for the as a part of the historical background was the major plague that affected the land of England. That is the Black Death, which is termed to be Black Death, which lasted from 1347 to 1351. It killed nearly to one third of the population of England. A lot of people in the clergy died, leaving a lot of vacancy in the post. And the literature, as we can see, there was a lot of sympathy for lower class. Okay, so next, another major point in the historical background comes the Peasants' Revolt. Here we can see that Richard II and Edward III were murdered, and this led to a lot of political instability. And as a result to the harsh living conditions of the poor, this Peasant Revolt took its origin. Rights of Magna Carta was not being enjoyed by the people to its best. For example, we can still see serfdom happening throughout. What is serfdom? We know it now. And serfs were treated as property. They were not treated as humans. Since they were in the working class, they were treated as properties by the feudal lords. Whereas the peasants, therefore, what happened? They moved from village to towns to free from feudal bondage. These acted against the interest of the poor. Who are these? The local officials. The local officials acted against the interest of poor, and the peasants' tax was increasing day by day. Like, for example, they had to pay taxes to get married, to have an education, or even if they die also they had to pay tax. Imagine the situation. They had to pay tax, which is called the mortuary tax. The mortuary tax was for death, the tax which has to be paid after death. Okay. Now let us know about the cause of Peasants' Revolt. The major cause lies in the addition of poll tax, which was the head tax. Heavy taxes was implemented due to the ongoing wars with France. We heard now there was a lot of war between England and France. So because of this reason, there were greater need for implementation of heavy taxes to win the battles. So even the poorest of the poor were also taxed. The rebellion was led by Wat Tyler, under whose leadership the peasants, the serfs, attacked London, killed tax collectors, demolished the properties, etc., etc., etc. And the Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the poll tax, who suggested this main idea, was executed. And Richard II, who was the king of England at that point of time, was giving a lot of promises like, okay, serfdom will be abolished, the taxes will be lowered, and the general amnesty will be provided for those involved in the revolt. So these were the promises given by King Richard II. So what is general amnesty? General amnesty means the avoidance of punishment in for the people who were part of this revolt, because they are doing some illegal activities to stand against the nation, right? So they had to be punished, whereas this general amnesty means they won't be punished. And what happened? Richard II started breaking his promises which he once gave to calm the revolt. So this is the major historical background in which Geoffrey Chaucer wrote this whole realm of literature, English language and literature. So this was the whole idea of historical background during the age of Chaucer. Okay, so the next we'll be learning about how Geoffrey Chaucer dealt and how was his life amidst this chaos. So to know more about the same, like, share and subscribe this channel, and we'll go through the realm of English language and literature together.